Hello people of the internet, it's me Vince, also known as Pleasant Kenobi on the web, and this week I'm playing some Legacy, Death and Taxes. Now the list is slightly budget. As you can see, I have 4 ghost quarters in the main here over Richardson Port, simply because Richardson Port is still very expensive on Modo. Despite being half the price of what it was, say, 2 weeks ago, thanks to treasure chests, it's still almost 400 tickets for a playset, so I'm not quite there yet. Ghost Core is actually better against Delver and against Eldrazi, so yeah, the card is actually strictly better in some matchups. Aside from that, I have 2 Recruit of the Guard as new spice main board, and 1 Sanctum Prelate. I might go up to 3 Recruiter and 2 Prelate soon, but again, these are 20 ticket cards, and I'm waiting to see if their prices will drop a little bit. The deck is pretty stock. Aside from that, I am on the 2 Thalia Heretic Cathar, because she's been very kind to me. I'm cutting down 3 Mother of Runes and 3 Flexing Revoker because of the Recruiter package. But I always play 4 Wisps, because Wisps is pretty much one of the best cards in the deck. Aside from that, the sideboard is pretty straightforward. Instead of going for an Enlightened Shooter package, I am playing just double Rest in Peace for the Graveyard Bullshit and double Cataclysm for like the Lands and Miracles matchups. And then I'm playing some cards that can be searched up with Recruiter, such as Aethersworn Canonist and Containment Priest. And then playing my typical Honor of the Pure in the slot that stops against Dread of Night, Engineered Plague, and all that sort of nonsense. A Warping Well that counters all the sorceries in the format, kills Deathrite Shamans, Bobs, Cliques, and other such crap, and makes a 1/1 in a clutch to equip equipment to. Disenchant's card is self-explanatory. This is my kill Planeswalkers and kill fucking True Name Nemesis card. And then Double Path to Exile helps against Delver and Eldrazi. The decks don't have any basics, I can just have much better efficient removal or more removal. And then Piping Needle allows me to wreck Planeswalkers' faces in. I keep a risky one-lander due to believing in the heart of the cards.
But my grandpa put all his gaming knowledge, his whole heart, into assembling this deck. I have to believe that it holds some secret strategy. This card is useless.
I've advised a turn 1 play and Thalia or Stoneforge to lead up with, so I can hit that off a second land across 2 draws, or play them off Val on turn 3, so it's not all that bad. I'm rewarded for the keep as Mirran Crusader gets remarkably better when we find ourselves up against a Deathrite Shaman deck on turn 1, possibly bugged due to the fetch. We turn 1 of Val after drawing a Mother of Runes and don't get a Dazed or Force of Will, so we feel pretty good here. If we can dodge Abrupt Decay, we may well be off to the races. Our opponent plays a turn 2 1/2 Goyf. This man has Squires for days. The Squire beatdown almost starts, but then he decides not to for reasons I don't quite understand. My Vile takes up to 1 and I find my second land. I decide to cast Thalia as she is more disruptive and I have a backup copy if she does meet a Daze. She resolves. Our opponent seems to have missed the opportunity to use Deathrite Shaman to make a blue mana while Thalia is on the stack in order to brainstorm in my turn. My guess would be he either decided that lands in the graveyard were a resource he didn't want to squander or for a cantrip, or he just forgot. He opts for a main phase 2 mana Brainstorm to try and find that essential 3rd land. He then makes a blue from Deathrite in order to suspend Ancestral Visions and plays a tapped Creeping Tar Pit, or as I've dubbed it, the Sleeping Tar Pit, because it's tapped and it can't be used. I Violent Mum and his end step and untap. I hit my 3rd land drop, which feels great, like wind rushing through my hair. I feel light as the breeze. I attack into his Squire, going with Thalia, and then opt to slam a Mirran Crusader, keeping my Varl open to make a Stoneforge in his turn. That line of play would open my board far wider than his, but set us up for a blowout from main deck Toxic Deluge or Pernicious Deed. I also have the options of not making a Stoneforge if I suspect anything like that coming from my opponent. He plays a Strict and a Wasteland, with ugly art I might add, and decides to take me off green or strangle me on mana, which does unfortunately stop me from making an equipment and equipping it to Mirran Crusader next turn. He plays a second copy of Goyf, which quite clearly suggests that there is no Wrath style effect lined up in his hand. I decide to commit Stoneforge to the board and find my second piece of equipment. To collect them all is my true test, to train them is my cause.
I wanna be the very best, like no one ever was. To catch them is my real test.
I untap, put Val to 3 and draw a 3rd land. I decide to start putting pressure on him with my Mirran and deploying equipment in his turn. However, my opponent appears to be lacking confidence when it comes to dealing with this and concedes immediately under the sheer power of Umazal's Jitte being in my hand. For game 2, I cut 1 Thalia 2.0, 1 Saravanger, a Wisp, 1 Varl and a Banishment Priest to bring in Warping Whale, Honor of the Pure, Path to Exile, Cataclysm and a Rest in Peace. All of this is rather straightforward, aside from the Rip which the verdict is out on. It turns off Deathrite Shaman, shrinks Goyfi, and although not always relevant in this matchup, stops Delve cards like Gurmag from being so efficient, which might actually be useful, we don't know yet. I look at a relatively fine, grindy and slow hand with removal, a big Thalia, Honour of the Pure to counter Golgari Charm, Engineered Plague and its ilk. However, I mulligan this perfectly acceptable hand for no reason at all by complete accident by clicking the wrong button whilst talking to my friend Chris on Skype. Much to his amusement, I scream in anguish and terror and get very pissed off at myself and then accidentally keep a dogshit hand because I'm very distracted. I'm really good at this game. I scry a Wasteland to the top of my deck and pray that blowing up my opponent's lands will get me there off this dogshit hand. He turn 1 plays a Deathrite off of a basic land which immediately shits all over those plans. I play the planes, I sob uncontrollably, crying, covered in blubber and spit and tears, and I pass the turn back to him. I get hit for 1 from Deathrite and he suspends an Ancestral Visions. I revoke his Deathrite Shaman with a Phyrexian Revoker, only for him to slam a Liliana the Last Hope, which can single-handedly kill half my fucking deck. I play Honour of the Pure in order to give my guys some survivability, but the Revoker's already bitten the dust because it was just too late for him. He down-ticks Lily, milling a Toxic Deluge and Jason the Mind Sculptor into his bin and finding no creatures. I know he shouldn't really care about what gets milled because it's kind of like a Schrödinger's cat aspect to what's on top of the library, but feeling like I'm seeing a potential Singleton Deluge hit the bin is actually pretty great. He plays a pretty big Goyf and passes back to me. I slam Prelate naming 0 in order to turn off his Ancient Visions and avoid being buried under pure card advantage. He wastelands me off my Ghost Quarter in his main phase, which is rather upsetting as I believe his only 2 basics in play. He then ticks Lily up and slams in for 5 damage with Goyfy. I opt to wasteland him off of mana in order to cut colours and restrict the amount of mana he has to use. I then plough his Goyf to make him a bit more threat-light and get closer to being able to attack Lily uncontested with my creatures. Prelate effectively counters the Visions, at which point my Prelate gets disfigured afterwards by what I can only assume is a freshly drawn disfigure post-Visions trigger. I play a Recruiter and set up Stoneforge Mystic to get some pressure. As a wise man once said, I hear you like tutors, so I tutored for a tutor. That's meant to be a meme. I don't think that's actually that funny. He plays a Sleeping Tar Pit and does very little aside from tick up his Lily. At this point, the emblem might be his plan. I cast Stoneforge Mystic and keep Plowshares up, and now delicately circumvent killing Deathrite Shaman and the Tar Pit in order to attack and connect with Lily in time to stop her from embleming. I fetch up Batterskull and pass the turn back to him. My opponent plays a Wasteland, which he will inevitably use in my Ghost Quarter at some point very soon to protect his Tar Pit. I decide to make a Thalia and attack Liliana with a 2/3 Stoneforge Mystic. Unfortunately for me, he blows up my Honour of the Pure with Golgari Charm, leaving my creatures vulnerable to Lily and my Recruiter dying from the previous turn's Lily activation. This doesn't feel very good at all, it's pretty much a blowout. He wastelands my Ghost Quarter and I have a rough decision to be made here. I can make a Batterskull here, but 2 pings from Deathrite Shaman and 1 activation of Tar Pit means that I have lost the game, so if he sees the line I'm just dead. I decide to Ghost Quarter the Tar Pit, keeping 1 white mana up to plough the Deathrite Shaman once Lily kills Thalia. Deathrite Shaman gets ploughed and I draw a Flicker Wisp in the nick of time to avoid Lily altering. I attack with Stoneforge Mystic for 1 damage against his face and then flicker the Lily to reset her back down. He of course kills Wisp with Lily. He then brainstorms looking for an answer to Stoneforge Mystic and or Batterskull. I draw a land, getting me close to naturally being able to cast it if I need to. He brainstorms again but doesn't find an answer and I craft a Batterskull in his end step. Batterskull hits Lily down to 1 and I play a Thalia 2.0. He brainstorms and casts a Shardless Agent into Abrupt Decay that he's obviously set up to kill my Thalia. The agent comes in untapped due to resolving after the decay but has dispatched Big Thalia, which is a bit of a shitter. He blocks and prevents me from killing Lily with Shardless Agent and then pops her with a -2 to pick Shardless Agent back up out of the bin. He recasts Shardless Agent, spinning the wheel with a blind flipping, hits Abrupt Decay number 2 and kills my Stoneforge Mystic. And a tap to make for an 8-point life swing against his face with good old Batterskull. I Ghost Quarter and kill his Underground Sea, cutting off with double black and double blue. My opponent then plays another Shardless Agent and blind flips another Abrupt Decay to kill my token. I return Skull to my hand and then look to recast it next turn. I get hit for 2 by his agent and I play Stoneforge Mystic that I've drawn to search up Sword of Fire and Ice and play it instead. This allows me to make an instant speed Batterskull next turn and it feels like a better line for card advantage and mana usage and just strengthening my board position. However, that is until my opponent hymns my skull away from my hand. That small window is kind of frustrating that they had the hymn in, however he could have been sandbagging that for a couple of turns just because I've had nothing in hand. He hits me up for 4 damage off the 2 agents. I untap and draw Recruiter, but decide to suit up Stoneforge Mystic and hit the Sword of Fire and Ice first to see what I draw. I shoot an agent dead and draw Plains. I deploy Recruiter with the Guard and go switch up a Flicker Wisp. My intention is to then flicker my Recruiter next turn, then get Miriam Crusader, at which point I have such a wide board and such a dense level of threats that he can't win aside from a Wrath effect. I get hit for 2 for 1 agent and then have my opponent suspend Ancestral Visions and play Liliana of the fucking Veil. He ticks her up with my Flicker Wisp that he knows is in my hand and it goes to the bin. The grind is well and truly real. I wasteland him off double black again, constricting his mana, and I swing in, putting Liliana to 1 and draw a Mother of Runes. He casts a 4th Shardless Agent and cascades into a baleful strix to start time, not a fucking Abrupt Decay. He then attacks with an agent, I do not block, and I go to 3 life. We are firmly, well and truly in hashtag 5p territory. I top deck a Mishra's Factory, which isn't so great against my opponent's wasteland. I attack in, hitting my opponent in order to get a Fire and Ice trigger. I use the trigger to kill the Strix, which I can't block, and draw a second Mother of Runes and play her. He untaps and does a whole load of nothing, which suggests he has a card in hand that he wants to keep due to no discard from the Lily. I get the reveal as Abrupt Decay, however I come to the conclusion that I can't not attack, so I swing wildly. I basically almost flunge at this point with my Stoneforge equipped with Sword of Fire and Ice. The Signposted Decay comes, the Stoneforge is killed by an agent in combat after my sword is blown up, and I am reluctant to protect her with Mother of Runes due to needing to block and or dodge removal with those. I play my draw for the turn, which was a turn 19 8th of Isle, which is quite possibly the worst kind of 8th of Isle. It is a shitload of nothing, and I draw a 3rd and final Mother of Runes, which I vow to play in response to his Liliana tick up in his turn. He plays a fucking enormous Goyf.
Deuce and I never had sex. It was physically impossible.
Freak!
It's true, I paid him money to be with him. And I'd do it again because he made me feel good about myself.
Behemoth!
And no one ever touched my feet before.
That's a huge bitch!
I just can't get through here because of my life total being so low. I need to either block and defend against removal he must have stranded in his hand thanks to all these Mother of Runes. I draw the mythical turn 20 second 8th of Isle, which is one of the worst top decks in all of Magic, right up there with the 7th land in a row on most blue cards in Modern. With Lily threatening to Edict on 2, I protect my Recruiter from green and swing in to knock her down. I then brought up with a free end of turn 20 Contagion, targeting both of my Mother of Runes. I can protect them due to it is being targeted, but I would then be left with no blockers. It turns out that not attacking would have been at least a little better, maybe bought me a turn, but in all fairness, who the fuck plays around Contagion? I decide to side in an additional Python Needle and a Council Judgment to provide answers to pesky Planeswalkers, and we go to game 3. I keep a perfectly fine hand for getting into the grind with 2 removal spells, a Thalia, Stoneforge and a Jitte all seem very respectable cards in this matchup. I plough his turn 1 Deathless Shaman and deploy a Thalia after drawing a Mishra's Factory. He searches up a second basic land and deploys a Goyf to be a roadblock. I Ghost Quarter him off black because he now has no basics left in his deck, because we've seen that he only has 2, and plough the Goyf and hit him upside the head with Thalia. He fetches up an Underground Sea and takes a turn to do absolutely nothing, which is fine by me. I Stoneforge, conjuring up a Sword of Fire and Ice, and he casts a 2-mana Brainstorm on my end step. He plays a 3rd land and casts a Clique, and looks at my hand. Stuck between a rock and a hard place, he removes a Sword of Fire and Ice with the Clique's ability, leaving me with a Jitte. The Clique's ability then ironically draws me into a 4th land. Untap, play a 4th land, and equip for the turn. I swing, connect, put 2 counters on Jitte, and I'm left in a commanding position, and he's probably a little bit pissed off. He keeps Clique back as a blocker, I kill it in the end step. I wasteland him in my first main phase to force any 2 to 3 mana plays prior to combat. This lures out an Abrupt Decay on my Jitte. I respond by pumping Thalia and activating Mishra's Factory, and white winning the shit out of him by hitting him for 7 damage up in the face, taking him down to 8. He deploys the 3rd land again and plays a Strix as a roadblock and draws a card off of him. I cast a freshly drawn Mother of Runes and attack with a 1st striker, taking him into Snappy Bolt range, or 6 for those of you that are noobs. In his turn he gives up. He tries to Abrupt Decay my Thalia, I correct it back to my hand and he concedes on the spot. GG, well played, 2 white weenie for you. Well, thanks for watching. It's a long, interesting and grindy one this week. I hope you enjoyed the video. Leave me a comment if you have any comments about my lines of play or the style of my commentary. Don't forget to like the video if you enjoyed it and share it with your friends and local groups as well. Exposure is super helpful and one of the best things to the channel, so I'd really appreciate it if you do share the video. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already for more magical fun and Flicker Wisp based white weenie action. And if you want to come hang out and join in live, I stream over on Twitch TV once a week minimum, usually on a Thursday or a Friday night UK time. Follow me on Instagram, which is on screen, Twitch, which is also on screen, or Twitter, which is also on screen, to be able to see when I go live. One love, and thank you for watching.